this great live conversation's all about catching up with my good friend John Fennick in Surfers Paradise. We met a few of his ex-Vietnam veteran buddies, and we went back to the Surfers Paradise RSL, and they let me a little bit into their lives about their return from Vietnam many years ago. And after that, we talk to Jeff, who was a trainer up in Canundra and a military trainer, and he lets me into his life. And then finally I talk to John, my great mate, John Fennick, and he tells me a bit about his story in Vietnam. This is done with all respect for our Vietnam veterans. It's very rare you get the opportunity to get into these insights, and so I thought I would put this down in conversation with all respect. And they were great. They are great people. It's like all of us. They just had something in life they were called up to do, and they did the best they could, and most of it was out of their control. And anyway, all my respect to my friends there. Thank you. Yeah, okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. I saw a mate of mine. I called into a mate of mine on the way up because I drove up from Victoria, and
did you drive up big?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether there was one word that was not a swear word, and I called, and it just flowed. It was just natural. So that's So
some of us don't swear. Some do.
Yeah. I know John does.
I don't.
No, you don't. No.
I don't swear.
No. So, what were you saying? Can you tell the story again? I'd love to hear that.
Well, I flew back in a C-130, and there was, I think there was 6 of us. Yeah.
Okay.
C-130, big transport. And well, we had 3 caskets in there as well. They travelled for 4 days. They travelled with us. It was up and down. First stop was Penang, from Penang then to Darwin, from Darwin to Richmond Air Base. And they made sure that when we got to Richmond Air Base, it was about 8:30 at night, so it was dark. So that the media, and then they snuck us out.
Right.
And we watched we sort of had to an honorary guard of honour for the 3 caskets. They just took them off, put them on the back of an army truck, and off they went. There was no ceremony, no draping it in Australian flags, no nothing. That's how.
So you were treated like criminals.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And there was no respect for those 3 blokes.
Yeah.
That had, given up their lives.
Right.
So garbage, not garbage.
Yeah. Well, and that took
treated like garbage.
That took a long time to get over, didn't it? Like as far as recognise the Vietnam veterans.
He talks about it now, he goes in tears.
Oh, we got recognition in 1987, wasn't it?
1987.
We had a welcome home parade in Sydney.
So you had to wait that long?
Yeah, we did.
For recognition,
And then eventually we got a letter from John Howard thanking us for our service.
Right.
Yeah,
you were Liberal voters, that's what you
we were given a certificate.
Never will be. This bloke is.
Liberals?
Hey Michael,
I'll never ever vote Labor again, I can tell you that.
To Sydney Airport. I had to pay the difference between the train fare and the plane fare to go to Melbourne.
You're kidding me.
So they wouldn't put me on a plane and fly me to Melbourne from Sydney. They put me on a train at 9 o'clock in the morning. So if I wanted to go by plane, I had to pay the difference between the train and the plane fare.
So how old were you then, Bass?
20.
20 years old.
How old were you when you were John?
I would have been 21 when I got home.
19, but I was 21 in Vietnam. My birthday was on.
Oh God.
And I was on an operation on night patrol.
Yeah.
Had my 21st birthday. Then I got back to camp and I found a dozen bottles of VB from Mum and Dad.
Did you?
Yeah. And within half an hour they were all gone. All the boys drank.
Room temperature.
So when they did replacements, you'd fly from Sydney to Singapore, and then get on the big planes.
But even when you got off the plane at Singapore, you had to take your fucking shirt off and put a civvy shirt on.
That's exactly.
A civilian shirt on.
Yeah.
We'd fly with us.
Because they were neutral and it was supposed to make out.
Yeah.
So we had to be in a civvy shirt. We'd have our.
We did that
on.
because we flew into Penang, and Penang was a straight air base. That'll work, yeah.
So at one moment you're in the bloody jungles of Vietnam, the next moment you have to come in undercover so people wouldn't see you and give you a hard time.
Basically,
That's what it was. Unless you came back with the battalion, that came back on the Sydney, wasn't it?
Sydney.
I didn't come back on the Sydney.
No, you got bloody medevac back.
Yeah. I woke up one morning in Heidelberg Hospital.
I mean, yeah, you were telling me that last year, and you know, I'd known John for over 20 years,
Easy.
and we never spoke about Vietnam.
Well, that's what I was saying.
Never.
Even if I knew John, I'd be like, you don't speak about it.
No,
You know.
no, we
It's
never.
like the Second World War blokes, the First World.
I never asked a question. John never said anything, and then he let me into his world last year. You know, when I went and saw him last year, and yeah.
Yeah, a lot of blokes said when they die, and then what's all them blokes? What are them army blokes doing with all their medals?
Yeah.
You know, they've grown up with this particular bloke and didn't know that he'd been to Vietnam.
Yeah, right.
But
Okay.
you wear your medals if you're a mate of it, just out of respect at his funeral.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
didn't make us any less proud.
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
And we got treated like shit for the first 40 years.
yeah,
RSL members back in those days didn't even want to know us.
Turn their
We
backs on
weren't
us.
even allowed, more or less, to go in
Right.
the RSL.
right.
Which grade they turned their backs on
Well,
us.
Footscray Sunshine.
Yeah.
I remember when I went and joined Sunshine and standing at the bar talking to these young, you know, they were older than us. They were Second World War. And no, Vietnam,
That wasn't a war.
that wasn't a war.
True story.
You're not a real soldier.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So that was it. That was me. That never, walked away from the RSL.
And it took me nearly 40 years before I joined the RSL. After that.
Right.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Well, I didn't join until we formed Caroline Springdale RSL.
My medals are in the drawer for 46 years until I come up here.
Well, that's the only reason you've been looked after since you've come up here.
Yeah, the only reason I went to the RSL because I didn't know anybody there. So I joined the Vietnam Vets up in Everyone was in the same boat.
And then we go to our RSL club in Caroline Springs. I was more or less one of the founders.
Founding this.
And we
Yeah.
had about $60 in our bank account.
Yeah, right.
But since then, it has advanced so much.
Well-
Financially, these boys could tell you that financially the RSL club at Caroline Springs is spot on.
Well, your photo's up on the wall there in the pub there at the West Wales.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
I believe so.
They used that for target shooting.
Yeah, yeah,
Do they well?
yeah.
No, I would have helped you, John. Open the Bunnings at Caroline Springs for the sausage sizzle.
Okay.
Because that's where all the money used to come from.
All right.
Oh, same. Well, your one, but not was the same. One was the same.
Oh yeah, Bunnings.
Bunnings put a lot of money in our coffers.
He took my place. I used to cook the sausages. Now he's taking my place.
Wear gloves?
I know, I'll tell you what, they're getting serious about that shit.
Yeah, sure.
Definitely.
Hands on the bottom.
They are.
Oh, yeah.
Once upon a time, like, you get some people come and give us like 8 sausages and they can't carry them. So I used to put a napkin on the plastic container, right? And whack it in there.
We did that from day one.
Now they won't let us do that. Not hygienic.
I got a bit of 90 mils PVC, chop that up and then
But it's a good
waves on
yeah,
the back.
yeah.
money spinner.
Put your bread in.
Oh,
Do
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Take them away. Sure. Put them in the tray.
National Service in 1969.
Right.
I was posted to Canunga,
Right.
and I was in headquarters defence company, which was a part of one DIB, I think, or something or other in Brisbane.
Yeah.
Then I got posted to a little mob called G Branch, which I'll say no more about because I knew
No one else will talk to
heard
you.
a lot of few things that at that time they were a little bit
Different this year,
on the-
can't hear out there.
bad side, especially up around through East Timor. Then I got posted again to Battle Wing,
We were just talking about the RSL.
and after that
They have no
I
affiliation with it.
got posted to another place
Politics involved.
as an instructor down to Duntroon. I went down there for weeks 1 to 12,
I only know what John told me when I
then
first
back-
met him a couple of weeks ago.
back to Canunga.
This was
So you weren't a conscript then? You
I was a conscript.
yeah.
obviously it's not
I
that.
joined the in actual fact, I joined the army. I volunteered for national service.
I didn't know that till.
I got pissed off where I was working in Tasmania, and I signed the papers. 1 week. In 1 week, I was in the army, which was on the 24th of April, 1969, one day before Anzac Day, and went through
So how did you get the
Puckapunga
travel card? Did you have to pull in some?
and up to Singleton, I think it was. I'm 67 years old now, and sometimes I get a little bit.
That's the answer. We've got to
But-
renew ours.
67 or
67.
or 76.
Just expires.
76. What am I fucking talking about? I'm doing his. He said, you know, he goes for
Once you got it.
47. You ask Nugget how old he is. 47. But no, the whole thing is. As I said before, I went down Duntroon a few times training. I done the pioneer courses and everything with the army, and then I got posted to be the
I spoke to him actually.
dart operator, which I don't know whether you've ever heard of that.
Yeah, I have.
Disappearing automatic retaliatory target
I
system.
saw him and I
Which
spoke to him about it.
I was
He
the
says,
only
You'll have to go online.
NCO in the army that was allowed to cut a
Then
electric detonator down to from about that size to about that size, where we used to do had a block with 24 detonators in it. You press the buttons and everything. It was a rifle shot. If it was night time, a little light would come up and show the blokes, which is irrelevant at the time. Maybe I would have stayed in.
I want to
But I
see. We got one.
signed-
in, one in
1971, I was due to get out of the army.
You would have seen it. Yeah. The big girl.
I got an extension for a year, but they stuck it up, and it was only 6 months.
Better bloody got
So I
me
said,
on
well,
the
because I wanted to go overseas. Anyway, they said, oh, well, your discharge paper's ready to go, and I said, fuck it. So I signed on for another 3 years, and then said, bugger it, I'm not going back to Tasmania. And I signed on for another 6.
So how do you know John?
I'll have to get
Was he just the guy who hangs around
How
and
do I
surfers?
know this? How do I know this bloke?
Yeah.
Well, he wandered in one day at the RSL, which was an RSL in them days,
Did you guys order a burger at all?
and
No, not yet. Not. I think we're going to have something to eat later on. I
I
think.
met him through a good mate of mine,
It's not what he's asking.
a bloke by the name
What he asked
of
was, did anyone order a burger?
John.
I never ordered a fucking burger.
Well, that's
Can't
good.
think
That's
of
what
his
you
bloody
tell
last
him.
name at the moment,
That's right.
but he
It's starting to sound,
introduced him
it's
to
starting to
us,
sound like him.
and he's been a great mate ever since.
Okay.
Can I borrow your pen, bud?
He's been a pain in the fucking ass, but you know.
Don't worry about that.
Just don't steal the biro.
Oh, look at these. Stolen from Heritage Bank.
So, did you serve in Vietnam or? No, you didn't. No.
He trained me.
You write it down.
In Canangra. For about 3 or 4 weeks, I think it was.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
So how old were you then, John, when you were training?
20?
That was 1971.
Looking at you, mate.
No, that's when I got hit.
Yeah, but you were a bloody Rio.
No, it was 69.
You were Rio.
1969.
Yeah.
1969.
Bloody, and when I would talk to him a few years later, a bloke from Service Paradise, Lieutenant Commander Ken Romley, that used to bring all the wounded from Vietnam to stay in Service Paradise.
Right.
And he's telling me, oh Christ, I remember him, the old bastard, you know, so.
Know what he's like, mate.
But it's good, you know, I mean, I never went overseas.
Yeah.
Not because I didn't want to, it's because a certain was worked for the council in Tasmania, and he was a union rep. When I was a kid, he said to me, "You will vote Labor." When I left the fuck off from home at 14 and come over here and went all around Australia, I worked for the circus, I worked at the showground, railway, fucking whatever.
Yeah.
And I've never voted for Labor in my life. Apart from that, mate, sorry, that's it.
That's terrific. Terrific life.
Oh, shit, I hope
So
you
what's
don't
going
put that
down?
on.
You've lost your RSL, have you?
Yeah, is it?
Yeah, it is. Not TV.
Oh,
So, Jeff, tell me all about Canangra. What was Canangra?
right, Canangra was Jungle Training Centre, then Land Warfare Centre. Jungle Training Centre was incorporated in 1941 on the opposite side of the road where it is now. When our blokes got hit by the Japanese, they had to find a place, and they took it to Canangra in those days, because it wasn't called Jungle Training Centre or any of them days, but that's where the blokes were taught how to fight the Japanese in their own
Backyard.
type thing, up till 1965 it was moved across the road, and our troops were trained there to go to Vietnam. 1975 or 76, I can remember looking at a little what do you call it? A little thing in the paper about
A newspaper article.
the big jungle stuff going out on the truck, and they were bringing sand in. So that was the Jungle Training Centre went, and then the Warfare Centre went in.
Okay. All right, mate. All right.
Apart from that, I'm not going to say any more.
That's all right. No worries. No, I appreciate you letting me into your world a little bit.
He supervised me in regards to my duties in Vietnam. There was one particular day we had to have a machine gun firing over us, just to let us know what it's like to.
Fucking good thing you kept your head down, otherwise
And I
I'd
kept my head down. He would have shot me. So there you go.
Okay, terrific, John.
But anyway.
Okay, but end this now. Yeah, you were saying?
About 3 or 4 weeks after Canangra, they sent us here to Service Paradise for a day
Right.
before we went home. Then,
Oh, we have to.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay.
and after we finished Canangra, I ended up in Ingleburn Army Camp, and I was sent home for a 7 days pre-embarkation. And I went home for 7 days, but I didn't tell anybody of my family that I was going, because my kid brother was there.
Yeah.
I didn't want to I didn't want to upset mum and dad, you know.
Yeah.
And that was it. Then I came back to Sydney, and under cover of darkness, I was sent to Vietnam as reinforcement.
Were you scared? Were you?
I wasn't scared, but no, I wasn't scared. No, I was young,
Yeah.
adventurous, naive, and bulletproof, I suppose. Because bulletproof, but I was well aware that what the situation was, and when I found myself in a war zone, that was it.
Do you mind?
I'm right, mate. I'm right, thanks.
Do you mind telling me what happened in Vietnam, or? Was it?
I don't like talking about it.
No, I know. I've known you for 20 years.
I have a lot of flashbacks, Mick.
Yeah, absolutely.
For a start.
Yeah.
And I've been under psychiatrist treatment for quite a few years, but it's just something I'll never forget.
Yep.
But at the same time, it gave me a different outlook on life in general. It made me appreciate Australia and what Australia's got to offer compared to third world countries and all that. And at the same time, after all these years, I feel that we shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Okay.
Because as far as I'm concerned, the Vietnamese population suffered a heck of a lot, you know.
Right.
And I saw a heck of a lot of Vietnamese people down the dumps, and
There you go. You got a good score there.
and I'm pretty sure that they appreciate us being there. But at the same time, you know, after all these years, I can honestly say that we shouldn't have been there at all.
Right.
In Vietnam.
So what happened to you? What was your story? If you don't mind, if you can't, that's fine. It's up to you, John.
Well, Michael, I met my platoon out in the field, and it was an occasion where we had to go out on another operation.
Yeah.
And I was unarmoured personnel carrier.
Yeah.
And I was in the forward army personnel carrier, and we hit a landmine.
Right.
And that was it. One morning I woke up in the Melbourne hospital.
Right.
After
Okay.
about 2 months, I think. I was in various hospitals in Vietnam and American hospitals and all that.
Yeah. So that sort of had a real impact on you, didn't it?
Of course it is.
Yeah. For all your life. Yeah.
It changed my life, my outlook on life. Totally different.
But also your mental state of health. It really.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate being around you people, you know, after all these years and all that.
And they started selling the pub, and they were about price.
My thoughts of Vietnam will never leave me. Right?
Yeah, no, of course. And you think about all that fighting and that, and after that, and if you go there now, you just see the progression in Vietnam now.
Naturally.
It's amazing.
For sure, naturally. But I do feel that we shouldn't have been there in the first place, you know. But life goes on, Nick.
Yep.
Life goes on.
Okay.
And I've met beautiful people like you and all these people here and all that.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, John. Thanks for letting us into your life a little bit.
too easy, Mike. Too easy.
That's pretty cool.
I bought it when I was 7 years old with 87 pounds. About a year.
7 years.
Yeah, it's the last off the production line. You won't see anymore.
Oh.
Thank you. No, you'll probably go home in my garage and not move again. Yeah. So after golf, yeah.
Cheers, mate.